All right, we should be good to go. Welcome back, everyone, to yet another Moonshire Monday, and I'm very excited for this one because I made a lot of progress on the level editor stuff. So a lot more options for level editing, and I'm going to be showing that off today. I'm seeing a lot of folks in chat already. I'm seeing OK and Rethanon, Baron, Hymns, and Benny ADM. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Baron, Wolf, and Rethanon, thank you so much for the support and for being in chat today. I was 44 minutes until you quit. What? In that time, you watched the cutscene 15 times, which accounts for 422. Oh, you're talking about the Dewdrop Dynasty stream? Yeah, so over the weekend and last week, I played Dewdrop Dynasty, which is Gudgis's new game, and it's awesome. I recommend it. I think it's good because any of the concerns that I had, he patched. He fixed them. So Rethanon, what you were saying is totally true. So one of the bosses I was kind of frustrated with because there was a cutscene that you couldn't skip, and it was taking a while. So, and like Rethanon said, it was 45 minutes, and 22 of those minutes was spent watching the same cutscene, which is really, really rough. So I'm glad that he changed it though. He changed it so that you can skip cutscenes now. So I'm gonna go back and finish the game now that I'm able to do that. So really, a lot of the problems were just 22-minute cutscene. No, it's that I had to watch the cutscene 15 times, and so it added up to a total of 22 minutes. But yeah, it's fixed. And yeah, so like I said, I recommend Dewdrop Dynasty now. I think it's really good. There were some minor problems when it was launched, but I think it's in a much better place now. Any concerns that I have are pretty minor. Katsutsukoma, thank you for being here. And thank goodness, yeah. So what I was gonna show, the level editor is gonna be really hard to like get working properly because there's so many situations like this where I have to account for this weird tile situations not working right. What's your opinion about Blender? I think it's awesome. I love open source software, and Blender is like as good as it gets for 3D stuff and 2D stuff even. I hear it's really good for 2D stuff, although I don't know much about that. So I came up with this new concept a while back where in the toolbox where you have all the different tools for level editing, like use the pickaxe for the ground terrain and then you use like the bucket for water terrain. Oh, I haven't actually tested this. That looks good. And what I was going to say is that now you can walk out of bounds a little bit. In the toolbox, I added this thing, this hat, I guess you would call it, the builder hat. Whenever you have it toggled, it will turn on a grid so you can like see the cell structure a little bit better, and then it allows you to go out of bounds because when you don't have it enabled, if you have this like disabled, you won't be able to go. Well, you can go out of bounds, but you can't see out of bounds. What game engine do I use? It's called Love2D. Nice grid, thanks. Yeah, I use it a lot and never knew that. Blender's open source. Yes, it is. Yeah, Blender's really good. And I want to learn. Oh man, look how messed up this is. The shadow is all screwed up. I want to learn how to make. Wow, I have a lot of work with the layering. I keep getting interrupted. I want to learn how to make 3D games after I finish Moonshire. So this is a weird thing though. Here, we're gonna test this out. I have a suspicion that the draw order will get fixed if I save the level and then reload it, and then that will confirm something. Oh, why did that happen? What's the logic there? Did you see that? It's just sometimes it was like setting up this caused the shadow to screw up. Why do I want a level editor? Oh, it's because when I was editing my own levels in Tiled, it was really annoying for me to make my own levels. And I was starting to want to like collaborate with other people so that they could help out with designing stuff. And it was just too specialized. It was too hard for people to download Tiled and work with it because it's kind of awkward. So having everything built in is nice for me to make levels a lot easier. But then also it'll be useful for modders or for anyone who I'm collaborating with to help with level design. Because before it wasn't a very easy thing to work with. Like the Legend of Lua repo, I'm thinking of integrating some of its core mechanics into your top-down pixel art Love 11.5 game. Awesome, that's cool. I think that a lot of the foundations and fundamentals of that repo are pretty good still. Whoops. What I was gonna say is that another thing I did. I want to put the helmet back on. And you can change how tall the block that you're setting is. And you can like make a, and you can change the span. So like right now I'm placing just one at a time, but you can change it so that it's like a tall section like this. Here, I'll do a Y span 2, and then I'll create like a, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. And then I can like climb up this. Level art is good, thank you. Yeah, it's starting to come together, but it's still got some improvements to go. Cause like I was showing, oh look, the render order's fixed. I was showing that this ground texture was not working right. Now it is working right. I wonder why that is. Nothing more awkward than making GUI. You need to put every button, every text in the exact position rather than a UI editor. Yeah, I tried to go for like a middle ground actually with my game because I really like how my UI is set up now. I think it looks really clean. This is another thing I worked on over the past week was the UI. I made the text look a lot cleaner. The background is updated, and the background like resizes itself automatically to match the content of the UI that I'm on, which is nice. I worked on the keybinds menu. I have all the little icons set up. It needs a little bit of work because like, look, the space bar icon's not fitting in here. I could probably make all these wider. But yeah, the UI stuff is really tricky. And what I was gonna say is that my UI is kind of a middle ground because like you said, it is annoying manually placing in all the buttons and text and stuff, but I tried to create a system where I have this UI module and then all of these different files kind of integrate together where you just feed it a definition. Like, what would be a good one? Probably like toolbox. So this is what the toolbox UI looks like. It's still not very clean though. UI button, UI component, because like you're just calling a bunch of functions and passing in these strings and details to make it all connect together, but this is still really messy. Like I'm reading this and this is not that good, really. I'm not too happy with this. I think that this UI system could probably use some reworking. Is the music loud enough? Oh no, it's reading. Oh, I see. It wasn't. That's so weird. I'm sorry about that. I need to figure this out. It wasn't. So I changed my my audio setup because I'm using new headphones and now I'm plugged directly into my audio interface. So it was kind of screwed up actually. I'm sorry. It was probably quiet for a second. Okay, so I need to actually figure this out. Yeah, sorry about that. It's yeah, I'm gonna have to figure this out because what happened? Sorry for the I got a little bit flustered now. What happened is that my headphones used to have a different audio level that was separate from like what you guys would hear, but now whenever I turn up my headphones, it turns up your guys' sound too, which I don't want that. So I'm gonna have to figure something out with that. Defy, welcome in. Try using NeoVim for one day. I probably won't do that. This feels interactive and helps bridging the gap between the actual game and the new assets in mind, rather than a torn apart workflow between Sprite, tiled VS Code in the game. Yes, that is exactly what I'm going for. And I think the level editor is a really good example of that, where I tried to design all of the tiles in a way where you can like mix and match them. So let me pull this up real quick. I have the sprites and the tiles. So I have these different tile categories. And for example, if we look at these like pieces of elevation here, the way this is set up is it's two separate tile sets. We have the wall, which is the brown part, and then we have the cap, which is the top part. And so it uses both of those independently. So here's the cap part. It renders these tiles on top of whatever it shows from the wall tiles down here. Like this. So being able to combine them is nice because now I can use like the cliff side. This one has like a rocky texture to it, while this one has like a smoother texture to it. So different parts of the areas, different regions could have like a mountainous area, could have the craggy, and like a town area can have the clay. And there's probably plenty of other ones that I could do. There could be like a snowy one or a sand drift. There could be like some weird alien planet or the moon. There's lots of options here. I think that would be really nice to mix and match. Do you use 9 slicing for the menus? No, I don't actually know what 9 slicing is. Seems to happen when you add other textures. Shadow issue on the ground happened when you put down water to the right of it. Yeah, I think that is it. Let's do a little bit of research on that because it is behaving odd. So, yeah, when I was like placing down these, it was causing problems with the shadows for... Oh, like that. Why does this... Okay, now it's not doing it again. What's the deal? Up. It didn't do it that time. You all saw that, right? Where it, like, the shadows got rendered out of order for a moment? That's weird? Yeah, that is weird. I don't know what causes that. Oh, now why did that do that? You know what? Okay, I'm starting to think maybe there's some kind of, because this position is interesting. This position is the shadow position of the wall. So maybe there's some kind of like conflict, some zero conflict issue. Or like the Y position of this tile that I have highlighted is conflicting with the shadow's render order. Can I get rid of it? But then it doesn't come back. Why doesn't it come back? Why would it like, why would that screw that up? Okay, that screws it up too. But now it doesn't. That time I deleted one and it this is so weird. Yeah, I don't know what the rhyme or reason behind this is. It's gonna take some research, I think. Some sort of Z fighting. It's like, well, because the Z axis and the Y axis are merged together like as a flat game. So it is something along those lines. The way that it figures out like the shadow is on a different layer than everything else, it does use the Y and elevation position because like when my player is up here on top of this ledge, but my shadow is on top. You see like my player's shadow is on top of the ledge, but if I fall off and go underneath of the ledge, my shadow is not on top of the ledge. That's what this whole render order issue is that sometimes the shadows do appear. What the heck? Something's wrong with like the render order with this one too. That's so weird. Oh, this is kind of weird too. Look at this. My like pickaxe is going into the wall. You see an ad for a live stream? I mean, maybe. So I'm not really quite sure what the cause of this is. It does seem to be some sort of Y sort Z axis thing, but I don't know why that would be happening. I'll figure it out. It's not that big of a deal. Another thing I need to figure out is sometimes the tiles don't figure out these like concave shapes or the odd shapes here. It looks fine there. What is going on? Does it split it up into different show colliders? Yeah, so it is splitting it up. So I guess it does make sense why this bottom part would have its shadow. How did I learn Lua? I just did it all the time. Because, you know, Love 2D is free. You can just make games with it for free. So I just used it a lot, made games. And now it's not there. Yeah, that's the part that's really confusing to me, is that the shadow was messed up and then I got rid of it. What is going on? That is so weird. It's so inconsistent. That's the part I don't get, is that it's so inconsistent. You learn Lua with Roblox Studio? Nice! Yeah, when I first launched my Udemy course for Lua and Love 2D, I got a lot of people that were just like Roblox fans or that were wanting to learn Roblox that took the course. I think that's perfectly fine. I really do like Lua a lot, but I understand it's not for everyone. Can you add some downloadable extensions? I need them. I'm building a game myself, and you're the one who inspired me to make one. Cool. Well, in downloadable extensions wouldn't help that much, because really the challenge is learning how to make games. All of the stuff that I'm doing here on stream is pretty complex, and it's not really something that like a plugin can just do for you. The most I will say is that like when mod support is here, it's going to be... I'm trying to make it as user-friendly as possible to like make levels and make content, or mod the game in some way, because that's just something I care about. I love the Love 2D tables. Me too. I'm a big fan of the Love 2D tables. Yeah, we keep chat in English just so it's easier to moderate. Provide extensions for download? No, I'm not doing any extensions for download. But like I do have that repo, the Love or the Legend of Lua repo, so I'll go ahead and show that. GitHub Legend of Lua. I think that this is a pretty good start. If you're wanting to branch into a bit of a more complex game, I think that this is a decent starting point to look at least, because this has a lot of the foundations in place. And it runs in your browser too. And so all of the code for this game is open source. The UI and all of these items, the dodge roll, level transitions. I think all the tiled maps are in this repo. Old Legend of Lua. I love Old Legend of Lua. Something about this is so nostalgic. I still use those sounds. I don't know what... He's like stuck. That was weird. What feature are you most excited about adding in the future? Is definitely getting people making their own levels, because I've been showing this level editor stuff for a while, but it's gonna be more fun when other people can use it. Like, I did build all of this stuff for myself, and it's going to be useful for me to make levels, being able to like place all these things down, and then now I have like the X-band, so if I need a really big section, I can like do this, and like go over here, just place it like that. Oh, the tiles got screwed up again. Man, the shadows are so bad. I have a lot of work to do with that. I think that's gonna be my #1 task this week, is the shadows. Because I'm working on my devlog, and I need to film this. Yeah, Wolf, you can just time out people. Like, I'm a fan of just like timing out annoying people when they're not following instructions. So just go ahead and time them out. I'm okay with that. Do you use Godot for the game? No, I don't use it. Something wrong with the stream. After 1 second, then the stream will be buffering forever. Then I think that refreshing it will help. Wolf is a benevolent moderator. I lose my patience very quickly. Here's another thing that I added. I forgot to even mention this. Notice how it's following the mouse. It's following the mouse, and it wasn't doing that before. Oh, man. It's so easy to place blocks now. Look, I have this big section to run on. I'm so sad about the shadows though. It's really bad. It's way worse than I remember it being. I feel like you're way more patient than I am. I often want to ban certain people, but I don't because I feel like you're not really annoyed by them. The truth is I put on a cool face, but the truth is I'm fine with you banning or muting people for, like, my favorite thing is like muting someone for 10 minutes. Like, just do that without even thinking about it. I'm perfectly okay with that, and that's harmless. That's because that sends a message. That sends a message. But no, the truth is, Wolf, is the reason I don't get annoyed is because you do a really good job of moderating the chat. Whenever someone is annoying, you do a good job of keeping up on top of things, so thank you for that. It really does help out a lot with keeping the stream good. Love Moonshire Monday, thank you. I'm happy to have you here. One thing that I was doing is trying to figure out what's going on with these like shadow rendering things. Cause like, look at that, I placed down these blocks and then suddenly the shadow gets screwed up. And then if I place it back, oh, it did. It comes back. This one's consistent. Okay, it's not consistent. I just don't understand. I do not understand. That is so weird. Okay, here's another thing we're gonna test. Right now, the map is in a very broken state. Cause look, my shadow is going underneath. It's so broken. This is so broken. But I wonder if this is because... You'll never ban me though? Start spam. I would only ban you if you started spamming stuff. I would never want to ban Bub. I love Bub. What I was gonna say is I'm gonna try world save level. Okay, so I saved the level and it saves it to edited levels. This one's called sharp.json. So we'll bring this back, sharp.json. And then we have all these here. I'm gonna copy all this stuff and we're gonna put it into the checked in version. Corex, hi, thank you for being here. Sharp. There we go. And so what I'm testing now is when we load this data from like a fresh load, does it still have that rendering problem? Or is the problem coming from the editor side of things? So let's see. Oh, it's still broken. It's still broken. Okay. This is so broken that I think that we're gonna do an AI prompt. I think that we're gonna prompt the AI to see if it can figure out why. Because we have a very clear example. We have this sharp.json, and we're gonna start a new chat. And I'm going to pass it in level.lua, and we're gonna say, take a look at sharp.json. It has a large collection of blocks and terrain. And this particular map has strange render order issues with the shadows, as well as the terrain tiles themselves. They often get mixed up. Could you step through to find any logic problems? Okay, and what are we using for this? We're using Claude Opus 5. That just came out this weekend, I think. So we're gonna try that. So we're gonna let that run. We're gonna let that run. So all I did was I explained that in this specific map, I gave it the JSON file too. I said in sharp.json, it's having this problem where for some reason, something about this setup is causing the overlap issue. Bless you for keeping the editor zoomed in for us. Yes, I care deeply about how zoomed in everything is. In fact, that's another thing I did over the week is I went into display and I made the field of view more adjustable because you can have it zoomed out to here. But like this is pretty small for stream. It's probably fun to play like this though. And then you can also go into display and then bump it up all the way up to 9 now. So you can make it really zoomed in. And the reason I did this is because I've started posting clips on X and I wanted to have it really zoomed in for this. It's still investigating. A bit OT, but are you using the multi-stream plugin with OBS? Could you show stream encoder settings? I'm having issues with video quality when multi-streaming and to Twitch and YouTube. I don't know if I want to show anything. How about this? Message me on Discord afterwards, because I'm afraid to actually pull up those settings. I don't want to leak anything. I'm afraid that I would like show the what is it, the stream key. Would it help if you specify the tile issue? It only happens when the protrusion is narrower than the main island, but wider than one tile. Okay, so you're saying that there is a specific scenario that causes it. I like that's the thing about the agent, is that it's gonna. I wonder if it's gonna find it. We're gonna see. If the agent doesn't find anything, then I'm going to do what you suggested, where it's like I'm gonna create the different shapes to see if I can identify specifically which shapes triggers it. Because it is definitely specific shapes that causes it. Oh, this is something that I always like showing off, is you can like do a turnaround jump and then like jump backwards like this. Just like keeping your momentum. I do this all the time. I love this game. This game is so much fun. Anyway, how's it doing? It's still working. Bunny hop confirmed? Oh yeah, I love all of the platforming stuff in this. The other thing I was gonna show is like there's this weird thing that you can do if I grab where's the shovel at? If I grab the shovel, okay, so I have this equipped. I'm thinking about like some weird challenge mode where imagine that like the floor is lava. Okay, so imagine the floor is lava and you're standing on one tile, but you do also have the shovel, and you could like make a path for yourself to cross the lava. I think it would be fun if there was like an actual scenario where you would use this. And then if you wanted to like speed run it, you could do something like this. I've been trying to practice that. I'm trying to get good at like placing it after jumping. So you do. Ah, so close. I love this. You have to time it just right. What's the limit of elevation? I don't think there is a limit. Well, there's not a limit. If there is a limit in the code, it's artificial. There's no limit. The math works out no matter how tall the elevation is. But I probably put in a limit of like 9 or 10. Whatever that means. So I should actually clarify. I think Apex 1 is this. But you might notice that's like only half a tile. RAM is the limit. Yes, RAM is the limit, technically. Does the player sprite get bigger? The player sprite does not get bigger, but what I've been doing is I changed the field of view. So at the start of the stream it was this, which I think is better. Gameplay looks so good. Thank you. How's our little friend doing? It's still doing it. This is gonna be expensive, by the way. It costs a lot of money to run these. And you can stack these up on top of an elevation. So like I'm up on this higher elevation surface and I can just place different blocks on top of here. Oh, that makes it really messed up. Man, that's so weird. Watching your Love to Do tutorial series, awesome. That tutorial series still holds up. I love it. Oh, did you see that? But like it doesn't come back. That's pretty weird. What's happening? Thank you for being here, Minister of Defense. So do you have high terrain in place where you need to build a set of stairs to get up to? High terrain in place. Well, so I haven't really designed all the levels yet, but for terrain, you actually can place terrain up above too. But dude, I really want to get this shadow fixed. It's making me so mad. So you can place these like these grass tiles on the ground. And for anyone who's just joining us, we're investigating some like Y sorting issue because you can see that it keeps like overlapping with the player. It's all screwed up. So I'm like debugging that. But you can put terrain up here too. Nothing's stopping you, but clearly it's causing problems. Man, it is really screwed up. Claude, figure something out. This is taking forever. Climbing up a mountain and getting an overview of the ocean. Oh, that would be awesome. And actually, I do want to do that because I have an example to show. Is when I was playing Sea of Stars, there was a scene that I'm like, wow, this looks so awesome. Well, there were a lot of scenes that were like that, but I took a screenshot of this scene. That looks so cool, and I could totally do this in Moonshire. So the way this is like up here in this right section is the main like walkable area. And then this left part is like a parallax background, just really far off in the distance. And it looks so awesome. I love how this looks. Sea of Stars just generally looks really nice. How the tiles automatically adapt to the adjacent tiles. Yes, I love that too. It's been hard to figure all of that out. And like, obviously, like over here is an example of a case where it doesn't figure it out. Sometimes there's still, what is this document? Oh, this is my Sea of Stars pros and cons document. But let's see, what did I write? Perspective is a bit confusing at times. Oh, I love the pixel font in Sea of Stars. Fall from high to break high ground. Oh yeah, that's a good idea too. These are just ideas that I liked from Sea of Stars. Umbrellas on the beach, water reflections, dweller death animation. Oh yeah, the dweller has the best death animation I've ever seen. And I like this red glowing light. Yeah, this is nice. But I like, whenever I play through games, I take notes, really detailed notes of specifically what I like and dislike. So like this is my Mina the Hollower one, and like here's some other screenshots. This is a screenshot of water reflection on the ground. It's kind of hard to tell because it's like a reflection. And this is another parallax scene where the background is moving. You're like on a moving train. And this one, I had quite a few things to say in terms of things that I wish they would have changed. But I love Mina the Hollower. Grass looks like it is one elevation higher than it should be, maybe. Well, the thing is about the grass, though, is that it doesn't always do that. Because if I go into a fresh map... Oh, did it finish? It finished. Okay, let's see what it says. Let's see what it says. Root cause. The Y-sort comparator was intransitive. Y-sort had a rule that fired before the effective sort Y comparison. A is an entity is not equal to B is entity. Entity includes type equals shadow, and slab shadows live in the static pool. That's true. That's a cycle. Table that sort with a oh, it's cyclical. No wonder. It's trying to like resort them, but there's these different rules to the Y sort that's like causing it to like be like a queue. That's so cool. I had no idea that I had this in there. With a cyclic comparator emits arbitrary output, which is exactly they often get mixed up symptom, and why it's map dependent. You need more than one slab shadow, more than one ground terrain tile south of it, and a cliff tile in between. Sharp.json has 8 blocks, which flood fill into merged apex. Oh my gosh. Fix. The rule is legitimate. Flat floor terrain should never occlude anything, but it must be a key, not a comparator branch. It now lives in compute effective sort Y as a floor band. That makes sense. Above the background plane band. Tiles inside the band still resolve by layer priority. That's good. This is the sequence order that I defined, and it's just giving each one of these a different weight. Then sort Y, so terrain layering is unchanged. That's good. Three more problems I found, but did not change. Well, let's check to see if the problem is fixed with shadows. Well, I can walk over the terrain. The terrain's fixed. These shadows look like they're fixed. All of it's fixed. Yeah, so like that just like fixed the whole problem that I was having, which is awesome. This is why, like, in the debate of AI, it's just examples like this, it's hard to deny how useful this is. That is just so incredible that I was able to identify such a complex logic issue in the code. The higher terrain edges are still borked. Yeah, I noticed that too. That's probably let's read on, and because Opus was able to find apparently 3 more problems. Here, I'm gonna check. Let's look at the the actual code changes it did. So where does it use this? Oh my gosh, look at this explanation. Most of the code change is just comments. It's the same thing that's just talking about before. IA is great for bug finding, especially logical ones. It is. Something like this is exactly what it's useful for. Must stay a strict weak ordering. Okay, so this is the part that was screwing it up. And then this is just the additions. Okay. That's awesome. We're gonna say fixed shadow terrain Y sort. Okay, we're gonna go back. We're gonna see, what does it say? Comments are important so AI doesn't mess up again. Yeah, the thing about these comments is that the AI reads the comments and that gives them context. What the last time I played games outside of mine is pretty good. I love playing games, but recently what I've been doing is I've only been streaming games. Whenever I feel like playing a game, I just go on Twitch and start streaming it, and I love it. It's been fun. So how does this token stuff work for AI? Does doing that cost you a token or what? Oh man, it does. Man, oh man, it does. This cost 242 credits. How much does that equate to? I think that's $2.42. I think it cost $2.42 to run that. Approximately. It might be 1/10 of that. It might be 24 cents. It might be 24 cents. It's either $2.40 or 24 cents. I can't remember. But it is a lot. It's crazy expensive these days. Here, I want to give a more definitive answer because I feel bad that I didn't give a clear answer. Because I can see my budget and I can see how much each individual prompt costs. So if we do another prompt, we can see how much that prompt will cost. But not this one? Well, thank you. He's not optimizing for tokens? No. And in fact, there's all of these different models. And in fact, it tells you, whenever you highlight these, all these different models, it tells you what the cost is. So this one is considered high cost. You can see it, well, sorry, I can't point to it. You can see the high cost label next to it. It tells you exactly how much it costs, like what the tokens usage is. But some of these are more expensive than others. Claude Sonnet 5 is medium. GPT Soul is high. So Claude Opus 5 and GPT 5.6 Soul are really comparable. I like using Terra a lot because Terra is like as good as 5.5 except it's half the cost. So if my goal was to be more affordable, then I would use Terra. And if my goal was to be as analytical as possible, I would use Opus 5. Opus 5 is like really, really strong. But also Opus 5, like it says, Opus 5 is high cost. That's something to consider. Anyway, I want to read on. It says 3 more problems I found but did not change. The platform bump is global, not spatial. Max tile Y by elevation is a whole map maximum. So any mob or mob shadow at elevation over 16 gets effective sort Y, meaning a player standing on the north plateau draws over the blocks 8. Fixing this properly needs per cluster locality rather than one global max. I don't understand that. Let me read that again. The platform bump is not global, or is global, not spatial. Max tile Y by elevation is a whole map maximum. In sharp.json, max tile Y by elevation 16 equals 224, 2 clusters south lip. So any mob or mob shadow at elevation greater than 16 gets effective sort Y, meaning a player standing on the north plateau. I don't think I want to fix that. That seems too... Well, let's read this one. Terrain tiles set base equals elevation. While cliff tiles set base equals clustered at base, uses strict greater, so a mob on Apex 2 platform is above the cap tiles, good, but not above the grass painted on the same platform. Well, yeah, that definitely needs to be fixed. Collect trains dead code, yeah, fix 2 and 3 for sure. fix 2 and 3 now, and then give me more details on number 1. So I'm gonna do a better job at tracking how much this is going to cost, because I can see right now on the side of my screen the dollar amount that I'm being charged for running this, and after running this prompt it should go up. So right now we're at 242 credits, so we're gonna see how much it gets to after this. You're using high effort and 200k context. I think 200k context is a pretty good standard, because you can only go up from there. And I think high effort is the best like middle ground actually, because they have like crazy. What are the other options? High 200k, max, and 1 million. Imagine going up to 1 million context size. That's pretty high. At work, I only use max and 1 million context. Nice. I heard a rumor with some of these that if you have it on max context or on max logic, it ends up being a little bit worse than high. That's anecdotal. I was watching the Theo.gg channel, and he was talking about how when he did his tests, he found that changing it to max would sometimes lead to a worse result than high, while also being way more expensive. What software is that? I'm using VS Code. I know it's cloud, but what are you using it? So I'm using VS Code. This is the Visual Studio Code by Microsoft, and then it's integrated with GitHub Copilot. So all of this stuff it's really well documented. I like how they now have the details when you highlight them, like Claude Fable 5. If you haven't heard about Claude Fable, this is like as top of the line it gets. Although Opus came out more recently, so I think Opus is better. But Claude Fable 5 is, I think, the most expensive model on the market. It costs twice as much as the one we're running right now, which is crazy considering how expensive the one we're running now is. Also, I wanted to point out that this Claude Opus 5 is slow. These are so slow. Is it because that AI tries to read way too much into your code and ends up assuming stuff that isn't there? That's exactly what it is that it overthinks. That's the explanation I got. Is that, yeah, on the max settings, it just tries too hard and overcomplicates issues when they don't need to have that problem. How are the audio levels? Audio levels look good. I'm still bummed out that my headphones are mapped improperly to my sound channel. I just got here, but I heard a bit earlier that you were going to try making 3D games after Moonshire. Why not HD 2D first? Me, myself, I just make 2D RPG games. I'm not really sure which is harder. Nice, that's cool. An HD 2D game might be a decent bridge to that, and I would totally do that. If I'm being honest, my game right now kind of feels like a 3D 2D hybrid, because it's built on these like voxels. All these like platforms are 3D. You can walk behind them and walk up on top of them. And you can jump around. So there is like a third dimension. It's just fake. And when I hear 3D or like the HD 2D, like Octopath or Adventures of Elliot, any of those games, I love that style. By the way, I really, really love it. But that is kind of, that's just running off of a 3D engine. It's like a full 3D engine, and then the characters are 2D, which I think, yeah, like I said, that would be a pretty good middle ground for me, because I'm good at pixel art. I don't know anything about 3D modeling. My problem with HD 2D games is the ones that are done well look amazing. The ones that aren't done well look doo-doo. Well, that makes sense. I think that probably applies to most art styles, is that the good ones look good and the bad ones don't. You already dipped your toes in 3D with that one project? Oh, yeah, with the... I'll show that. That's a good one. GitHub, what did I call it? Shalacade Pixel 3D. Oh, what did I call it? Is it not called Pixel 3D? Did I call it something different? You guys go see all my private repositories. I thought it was called Pixel 3D. Oh, it is called Pixel 3D. Why didn't the Google search find it? Yeah, so this is what they were talking about, is I made this program where you can give it a pixel art sprite, and then it renders it like a 3D model like this. I think it's awesome. Deterministic array. It is deterministic. You have a good eye, Cereal Pie. It is deterministic because the way it works is it takes a block and it takes that same block and copies it to every part of the level. Because this map is big. And if I go over here, the rain will be falling in the same like pattern as it does on the other corner, which I don't think is ideal. I would prefer it wasn't deterministic, because I like that the enemy behavior in this game is deterministic, but things like the effects really should not be. It's just a patented term by Square Enix, which is stupid. Oh, really? So you apparently can't use it in your marketing, but 2.5D and HD2D are the same. Yeah, I've only heard HD2D in the context of those Square games. I always, or besides that, I hear it as 2.5D. But 2.5D kind of means different things. I guess HD 2D kind of is Square's own identity, because it uses like the Unreal Engine lighting and all that stuff. Okay. Okay, returns the bottom of the layer, now sets base. Okay, so that's just like a conflict issue, and remove unnecessary code. I'm gonna go ahead and check that in after I look at it real quick. So that's removing the unnecessary code. Yeah, the collect terrain's not needed anymore. Set surface base. Right, okay, so this is an important factor. Apparently, like, when you had terrain on top of a block, it would cause some formatting problems. And again, most of these changes are in the form of comments, which, honestly, happy about that. That's great. 4K 2.5D TM. I love the TM. You know, my game, or my brand Moonshire has... Is it a trademark or... Yeah, it's a trademark. I actually filed a trademark on it. Are you thinking of making more Love 2D tutorials? I'm trying to make a small platformer to build up my experience, and the things I can't get is spawning enemies and interactable blocks. I'm with you. Those aspects are really tough. And I have some of that in my Udemy course. So I have a Udemy... on udemy.com, if you look for Love 2D, there's a Kyle Schaub Chalcade Love 2D course. And that one goes into detail about spawning enemies and collisions and things like that. And one of the games that we make is a platformer, so that could help with some of the fundamentals. But yeah, all that stuff is really tricky. And yeah, building up those skills is always the hardest part. I like making 2D games with a small resolution, letting sprites rotate smoothly. Me too. Out of the pixel grid. Yeah, in my game I have that. If you look at, like if I go to pick up, like the shovel, if you look at the shovel, the sprite for the shovel is rotated. The pixels on the shovel. And that's not how pixels work. If something was actually pixels, then it would be just square. But you can see that the shovel's rotated. It's just a stylized choice that I like. There's many ways of doing things. It's hard to suggest one single approach. Exactly. You always have to do it on the fly. Transfer Leon. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. I was going to go more through some of these things. I'm going to say clean up stale code, minor Y-sort bug fixes for level. Pixel art doesn't have to be Pico 8. Yeah, Pico 8 is a really distinct style, isn't it? Okay. So I asked it to re-explain the problem number 1 because I didn't quite get it. The platform bump is a whole map maximum. The mechanism. Y-sort builds one number per elevation. Oh. Okay, so it's saying that, like, in this game... Okay, I see. So, I think what it's saying is that it has a flat definition. Any platform that's of size 1, like this one, is going to have the same rules as this one, and as other ones. Sorry, I'm phrasing that wrong. Sorry, let me start that over. I was going to say that all of the 1 elevation blocks are going to have the same properties as each other, and then all of the 2 elevation blocks will have the same properties as each other, and all the 3 elevation blocks. So, like, I think that's kind of part of this. There's no spatial key, no column, row, or cluster. That's the thing, is that the position in the world is relevant. The fact that these blocks exist here their Y sort is going to be different than if it was like up here, for example. There's no spatial key, no column, no row, no cluster. Then Y sort does all of this stuff. Why it exists. Cap tiles are painted up by apex times tile Z, but sort at their own row's bottom edge. That's exactly what I wanted, because when you are walking around these platforms, you need to be able to walk in front of it down here, okay? But you need to walk behind it up here. That's what the whole problem comes from, I think. Okay, could you please tell me which AI agent you use? Also, could you share your opinion about AI? Do you like the way it's developing or not? And what do you think about the possibility that AI might replace programmers in the future? Or rather not replace all of them, but lead to significant job cuts? Yeah, that is a tough question, and it's something that's been changing a lot over the past few years. Because if you were to have asked me that question 3 years ago, I was working at Microsoft. And when I was working at Microsoft, we didn't use AI at all. Like, I would code all of my stuff by hand manually. There was no AI whatsoever. Or if there was, it was minor. Like, maybe they were just starting to roll out the, like, how when you have a Teams meeting, it'll record it and, like, give you a transcript of it. I think that's the only type of AI that we had. We didn't have AI coding yet. I never started using it until after I quit Microsoft and branched out on my own. The funny part is, though, I bet today the work culture at Microsoft is way different, where I bet they use AI quite a bit. And the question is, what's my opinion on it? And my opinion is that it is undeniably useful. I was showing earlier in the stream how there was a problem with the Y sort issues with the shadows and the terrain. The track is loud. You're right, it is a little bit loud. And it was able to, sorry. Are now condom to Claude. What do you mean by that? Oh, I see. So well, yeah. So engineers are like a driver. Okay. So sorry. I didn't read that right. I didn't read that right either. But it's a fine message. I think you need to think it's a 3D game, but we're projected with a 2D perspective. That is how it's working. Sorry, I keep bouncing around to different things. My opinion on AI is that it is useful. Because if you asked me that question 3 years ago, I would say it's not very useful. I don't use it. But today, it is useful. There are some minor. Sorry, I'm reading messages and getting flustered. Sorry about that. My brain skipped over the actual word that got flagged. Me too. It's fine. No, something like that's very innocent. I don't care about something like that. I think that's fine. Also, I don't think that my filtered it out either. AI is a tool. Yeah, sorry. Let me get a finalized, clear thought. In the past 3 years, it's changed a lot. And I've personally noticed that the level of intuition that it has and the complexity of the problems it can solve has improved. It's very impressive at how good it is at solving problems. You don't have to give it much context. It's able to read all your files and figure out what the problem is. If it's a logical issue, it can probably find it. And that's why it is a game changer for things like debugging. Like that shadow problem that we fixed. If I had to step through the code manually to try and figure that out, who knows how long that would have taken. And I wouldn't have been able to do that on stream because it would have taken all my concentration. So it's just there's undeniably situations where it's worthwhile to use. That being said, there are some big concerns that I have with it. One is that I do think that it's like making people too reliant on it, where people are not going to be learning as much. They're just going to have AI solve all the problems for them. And I think that's going to be a very big hindrance in the learning process. Because when I was in college, I didn't have AI and I just had to learn it all manually, and it was hard. Do the cost not just the developer, but the world, the giant data centers, the water and power use to justify its use, though? That's a hard question to answer. And the answer is, like, at the moment, those problems are really noteworthy. Because there's a lot of discussion about problems with data centers and eco problems with it. And at the moment, those problems are probably as bad as they're ever going to get. My hope is that since those problems are getting a lot of attention, that more and more people will be taking steps to improve it. I really do think that right now, there's so much incentive to make things more efficient. the cost is outrageous. I was saying earlier, so that this prompt here where it fixed those 2 problems, it cost 152 credits, and let me pull up how much that costs in Copilot dollars. It was $1. Okay. Yeah, it's really easy to calculate. It's really easy to calculate. So it says 152 credits. And I checked my budgeting thing for Copilot, and it cost $1.50. It cost me $1.50 to run this. That's ridiculous. That is so crazy. A credit is a cent, basically, yes. So, what I was saying is Claude Opus, the one that I used for this session just now, is considered high cost. It says so right here, high cost. And the idea behind all this stuff is you would use the high cost ones when you need a deep dive, really smart thing. And you would use the affordable ones like GPT-6 5.6 Tera. I love this one. It's way more affordable than Claude Opus. It's like half the price. I guess it's not way more affordable, but it is more affordable. There's some like really cheap ones here, like Flash, probably GPT 3.5 Flash is pretty cheap. 5.4 Mini is very cheap. But like the cheaper it gets, the less effective it is. When is the game coming out? It's gonna be a while. We're in the gold rush phase where the people at the top don't care about the consequences. They just want to get in as fast as Terra as much gold as possible. Next generation down the line gets to figure out how to run it cleaner as well as clean up the mess that was made. I think that you're totally right. Is that right now there is so much money being traded that they basically need to make it work. And I am completely in agreement. There are some problematic aspects with AI. If you name problems with AI, I will definitely agree with you. Yeah, those are problems. The like copyright aspect of it and like free use, and then the eco-friendly, the green energy aspect of it is concerning. And then there's the quality of code, the level of copyright is a toxic idea. In a way, yes, but like should someone be able to steal someone else's idea? If it's like if I designed a character, should someone else's AI be able to take that character and use the ideas from that character in their own game without crediting me? Personally, I don't think so. If it's a unique idea, I think that the original artist should be credited in some way if possible. But that only goes so far because AIs learn from real artwork, but so do humans. Real humans learn from other humans, and we get ideas from other humans. So it's just kind of a hard thing to balance. I think you should rework the jumping physics. I don't think so at all. I love the jumping physics. I think my jumping physics are really good. But at the same time, though, people need to try it before I can really judge that for sure. Yeah, but AI isn't that creative. I think you'd be surprised. I think that you'd be surprised. I think that what it comes down to is it is how you use it. Like someone was saying before, it's a tool. AI is a tool. And like if I have a hammer, like I can't make something interesting with a hammer. I'm not skilled enough. I don't know how to do that. But a carpenter knows how to take a hammer and create wonderful pieces of art with a hammer. I can't do that. So there are some people out there that will take AI and they're completely unskilled with it. They don't know anything about software. They don't know anything about prompts. And they just make stuff and it's bad because they are not a carpenter. They don't know how to use a hammer. And like we've all seen someone swing a hammer. We know how a hammer works. It's just how do you use it in an effective way? AI combo boring? I mean, in a way, I guess. Oh, you're talking about like what we're talking about now? Yeah, I suppose I do always fall back on this, but the thing is, it is a relevant topic because it's something that just it's part of our lives now. It's hard to avoid it. If you work at like a company, for example, and you're doing development, I can guarantee you that there's AIs involved in every development out there because it's too useful. It can find bugs. It can solve problems before the problems even surface. It can find security vulnerabilities. It can do all this mundane setup stuff. It can comment your code. It can decipher old buggy code. It can refactor things to make it more modern. There are undeniable uses that are helpful. But at the same time, all of those things come at a cost. I agree that there's problems with it. And especially like the environmental impact is something we should address if that is a problem. I don't know how much of a problem it is, but I imagine it is. I'm also hearing stories about like data centers being built, and then like the story I read over the last week is that some town got a data center built, and then the data center was making a bunch of noise. So like the big building was making a ton of noise, and it was bothering the neighbors. Like, that's unacceptable. Can you imagine if, like, a big building was opened up next door and it was loud just all the time? That would drive me insane. Stories like that make me mad. Because the whole point of the data centers, by the way, is to address this problem. The reason why it costs $1.52 to run one prompt is because there's not enough data centers. That's why. I know that's a sad thing to realize, but me complaining about costs, that's why they're building it. It's because there's so much demand for running these agents, and it's so expensive to run them because you need data centers to run these. And so the demand is so high, the cost is so high, the incentive is so high, it's just become a crazy, wild thing. I asked ChatGPT how to create water shaders on Unity the other day. The results were satisfactory, but perhaps could be better. I'd say the AI isn't perfect, but it could be a good guide, though. Yeah, I mean, sure. And I'm also going to point out that that was your first prompt. Did you do that in one single prompt and it was able to do it? And also, which version of ChatGPT, because there's different versions. You can have ChatGPT 5.6 Soul. This is the version where it'll cost you $2 or $3 per prompt, and if you use this one, the result is going to be very high quality. Or you can use ChatGPT 5.4 Mini, and this is going to be very cheap, but the results probably won't be that good. Kind of reminds me of the wind turbine debate where people want them as they're eco-friendly, but no one wants to live near them because they're loud. Yeah, that's a really good comparison. Is in general, we can all appreciate the positives and negatives of any of these things. I definitely acknowledge that there's negative aspects of these data centers, and I want them to be addressed. And if they are loud, they definitely should not be making them and disrupting neighborhoods. Or if they're causing actual impacts on the environment, some negative impacts, that needs to be addressed immediately. It's okay, SpaceX is going to build data centers in space. Yeah, I heard that SpaceX just like made a ton of money because they sold off a lot of their like cloud computing centers and stuff. He's had no mouse controls option. I have actually. Let's show that off because I have been talking about AI for a while. Let's talk about something a little bit more interesting, something more game related. Is mouse only options. So here in the options menu in the controls, I have a drop down for a scheme, so I can change it over to keyboard only. And then when I'm in keyboard only mode, I can use the keyboard to control the cursor, and it works properly. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, and I can play the game normally with just the arrow keys and then Z and X. I think you can use it here too with. Yeah, you can use it with a lot of different keys. Sol equals sun, Lua equals moon. Whoa, that is a weird coincidence. That's a weird coincidence. So I'm really proud of the different control scheme supports that the game has, because it also has the controller support. And I have a controller plugged in. I have a PS5 controller. And same with this, I can control the UI with the controller. Whoop, not exit to menu. We'll do that. And honestly, the game feels so good to play on controller. I can play it just as well, really. Now make a mouse-only scheme? That sounds like a mobile view. I was thinking about doing that. Let's see. So someone was saying about AI. The real problem, in my opinion, is that there could be massive job cuts. Yes, and that is something that we're already seeing. And you hear about big companies that are laying off people, and they say that they're doing it because of AI. I don't know how much of a factor that is, because the other thing is it costs a lot of money to run these agents. So not perfect. I also have Moonshire wishes for a long quite while. Yeah, me too. I understand. It's been a while. I haven't revealed how many wish lists it even has either. That sounds like a huge frightening problem. I think it is a frightening problem when it's a general problem with automation, no matter what time period it is we live in a world where people need jobs. We need jobs to live. But we also live in a world where technology is advancing very, very fast. And the point of technology is to make our lives easier, which that translates to replacing jobs. Like Excel spreadsheets came out and a bunch of pencil pushers lost their jobs because you can just use Excel to do spreadsheets now. You don't need a mathematician anymore. And that's bad for the economy. It's bad for people. It's bad for people when people lose their job. It's not good. But it is technically good for the economy because businesses are able to be more efficient. It's just where's the breaking point? Where's the point where there's so much automation that so many people don't have jobs that the whole system just kind of like has a problem? That I could see that being problematic. I'm gonna go back to mouse and keyboard because that's my favorite. By the way, are all the emotes showing up properly? I think they are. They are. That's good. I still hold on to the belief that tech was over hiring pre-AI, and an AI, no matter how good, can't replace true engineer. I think it's not about replacing engineers. It's what the other person was saying earlier, is that if an engineer is able to be twice as efficient before, the idea isn't that you would get rid of all of your engineers. The idea is that a team, like a software company that has 12 engineers, 12 coders, if AI is able to do all the debugging, you probably don't need 12 coders anymore. You probably only need 11. And if AI is really, really good at the DevOps stuff, then you probably don't need 11 either. You probably only need 10. And if it's really, really good at front-end web development, you don't need 10 either. You only need 9. And that's the problem here, is that if one person is able to do the work of 2 people, then you are going to have smaller teams, more job cuts, and that's where it's more noticeable. It's not going to be like, we're not going to live in a future where companies are run by AIs, the employees are all AIs, and there's no humans at all. I think it's going to be that the companies are just, there's a smaller portion of humans. And grunt work dev is soul crushing anyway. That's the thing, is that that's one of the big benefits, is that I don't like debugging. I don't like the mundane, crappy work that some of the stuff I have to do. And it is convenient that I'm able to ask the agent to handle some of the annoying tasks for me. I like that I get to spend more time working on level design and pixel art and making content and designing bosses and making music and making the sound effects better. I love that I get to spend more time working on that rather than spending time working on debugging, fixing the errors, setting up the boilerplate code, adding comments, running tests, writing tests. Those are the things I don't want to work on. I want to work on the fun, creative things. I don't want to work on the mundane, annoying, crappy, tedious stuff. And AI is very helpful for the mundane, annoying, tedious things, because a lot of those things are just like, you're going through the motions. You just have to deal with it. 11 person should use AI to work even faster and go deeper in their work, not use AI to reduce them. There's a limit though, isn't there? How much more? I don't know if there is enough work that exists. I think that there is still a breaking point where the company can't sustain that. If you don't want errors, use Scratch. Errors don't exist in Scratch. Really interesting. How do you like to play your game with a keyboard and or controller? I like them both, but I use keyboard and mouse more frequently just because I develop using a keyboard and mouse, right? I don't use a controller to develop, but whenever I'm playing the game, I think I do kind of prefer the controller, because when I switch over to controls and go over to controller, and then I go down here, and then we get out of here, it feels really good to play. It feels just as good, if I'm being honest. The only reason I feel a little bit less comfortable with it just because I use the mouse and keyboard way more. Isn't there an incentive to have 12 10x engineers rather than 6 10x engineers? No, because 6 10x engineers costs less than 12. I think that you answered your own question. I don't know, you're not trying to argue. Is that we're on the same page here? Is the what I'm trying to get at is, yes, you are right, but imagine you're a company and you make $1 million per year, and you do it with a team of 12 software developers. and AI comes out, is the goal to take those 12 developers and push them up to, I don't even know how to explain this. Is that, yeah, is if the benefit starts to not be worth the cost, and capitalism is the real problem. I guess capitalism is the root of everything. It's the root of all problems and all things in general. You have to realize companies want to make maximum profit with the least amount of investment. That is what it comes down to, is that companies are not on our side. They are businesses with the sole purpose of impressing the shareholders. They are not in the business of giving people jobs. So if they would make more money having fewer people on staff, then they're going to do that. And if AI enabled those 12 developers to make twice as much money as before, then they probably wouldn't get laid off. But what I'm saying is that I don't think that the money can just like be invented out of nowhere. I don't think that the company is able to just like make up all the extra cost for that. Is the game at where you thought it would be 4 years ago? No, it's way behind. But also it's way better. I would say the quality is 100 times better than where I thought it would be, but the progress into like how far into the content I am, way less. 12 people is only possible in a perfect world, both for 12 people and the company. Yeah, is that ideally you would have everyone hired and everyone would have a job and everyone would be happy. That's the perfect world. Is that possible? I don't know. This is probably very early to ask, and you probably don't have an answer yet, but what will you do when this is finished and published? I was talking about that earlier. I kind of want to dabble in 3D a little bit. When you explore after completing Moonshire, I want to dabble in 3D a little bit. I worked a little bit, like this game itself kind of has 3D elements to it, where I have the Y sorting stuff and how you can walk behind this ledge and walk in front of it, and you can like jump up here and there's elevation. So there is Z-axis fundamentals in here. It's just taking it the next step. Is a 3D game would be more than that, and I kind of just want to get used to that. I don't know how to do 3D models. LOL, me either. When I was in college, I researched it and I did like tutorials and I downloaded Blender and I went through the steps of getting things started with it, but I wasn't able to stick with it. And also, like, if you need to be making a 3D game. I wanted to make 2D games. You give players control over vibration. Yeah, I do. I try to add as many settings in here as possible. And also in the debug menu, I have a whole bunch of these cool settings too, where you can like see the fields, you can see the colliders. I think that this is a nice thing, so you can see how the cap is separated from the wall itself. The green part is the solid part that you can't walk through, but the pink part is the part that you can stand on. The Z-axis does not fit with the 2D style of the game. I disagree. And you know, maybe when the game comes out and people play it, there will be some more meaningful feedback. But help me out, if you give me something specific. How exactly does the Z-axis not fit with it? Because I agree, this is a 2D game, it's a flat game, and I am simulating a Z-axis, but I think as long as it looks good, then it is fine. And there are games that do have like a fake 2D axis. A lot of like the GBA Zelda games, or what's another example? Something that has so many 2D games do it. Yeah. I think a lot of games do that. Mario and Luigi is a great example. I'd say Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is the best example that I like always go back to, just because it's a really nice looking first party Nintendo game that really did it. Link's Awakening, totally. That's an early example. I love that one. Great example. Yeah, so there's a lot of those. I want to go back to looking at this. Perk cluster. If we went with solution A, what would there be any performance concerns? Being able to jump up hills looks kind of odd. I think that it depends on all of the surrounding decorations, because I think that when I'm right here and I jump up here, it looks fine. And, you know, I think that part of it is it needs more ground texture, because if I take this guy and I add some more of this here around, I think it's really helpful for clarifying, like, where the ground actually is. But that is still good feedback. It also staying behind a hill blocks the view. Yeah, that's intentional. There's something I could do about that. In like Mario Sunshine, whenever you walk behind a wall, it like does this weird shadow overlay, so you can like see through the wall. You can see behind it basically. Or I could make the wall semi-transparent when you walk behind it. Because I'm with you. Having stuff blocked off like this isn't really ideal. Is the character shadow flickering in the air? I think the shadow flickering in the air is bad. I need to fix that. I showed that on X also, by the way. I've been trying to post weekly clips to X, and that's something that I showed this past week is... Oh, shoot. Sorry, 1 second. Is this... I made this post over the past weekend where I specifically call out how it does look awkward when the shadow like snaps like that. And I think that this really could use some work making it look better. Adapting these changes is necessary, but still the number of available jobs in many fields will likely be much smaller than before. The sad part is that some people lose their jobs and will have to search for something completely new. Yeah, I agree. That is hard. That's the negative thing about progress with tech in general, is that if you're replacing jobs with robots, then people are going to lose their jobs, and we need jobs. You can make a circle in the hill transparent when you walk behind them. Yeah, I'm thinking about something like that. So someone posted a screenshot. Yeah, like this is an idea that someone posted. And I think that we talked about this on stream before too, where if the shadow had some extra logic in place where it could split itself, you know. Getting my golden handcuffs broken would be nice. Oh, I know what you mean. You're saying that you're in a good, solid position, but it's too good to leave. I know that. Everyone thought it was hilarious to tell minors to learn to code. Now that coders are told to learn to mine, it's a crisis. That is a very ironic thing, isn't it? That in like 2016-ish is when the learn to code movement started happening. That's just so, it's so short-sighted. They're just thinking, oh, well, right now in 2016, coding's a huge thing. Well, like, I guess you better go start getting on that. But no, it's more complex than that. And also we're finding out that, like, programmers aren't keeping their jobs. There's plenty of programmers that are losing their jobs because of it. A lot of players naturally compare new action-adventure games to Zelda. How do you address those comparisons and highlight what sets your game apart? I want them to compare it. I think my game adds up. That's the truth. I think that gamers are naturally going to compare your game to other games that they've played, and you can't really prevent that. I don't want them to. I want players to play it with high expectations. And the way that I deal with that is I outdo them. I know that's like a confidence thing. It's kind of hubris, but that's how I feel, is that I really am confident about my game's gameplay, that I do feel like it stacks up against other 2D platformers like it. People sometimes compare my Love 2D Square game with Geometry Dash for no reason. I mean, Geometry Dash being a like simple art style block-based game, and I'm just remembering, or could your little guy do a super jump off a balloon or something? Oh, there was something like that. Yeah, there was some like bug or something where the balloon was just like launching you. I can't remember specifically what that was. With the power of AI, can more than compete with the best. If I'm being honest, I don't like saying that, but yeah, there is some truth to that. Is when, because like we were saying, capitalism runs everything. It's big companies that make all the games that we play, all the big ones at least. So, and even indie games rely on money. So if it requires a ton of money to make a game, some games just can't get made because it costs too much money to make a game. But if AI enables a team to work off of a smaller budget, perhaps that could, in theory, lead to them being able to make the game when before they couldn't. That's a big theoretical, though, because it implies that everyone knows what they're doing. I think that a team could very easily also use AI in an inappropriate way and then set themselves back. Almost midnight here. Well, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate that. When I finish my game framework, I think I'm going to try making a game inspired by Moonshire. Cool, thank you. That's cool to hear. I mean, draw 2 shadows on both surfaces. That might be the best option? Let me see. So if I'm like up here, it could just draw a shadow at the corresponding floor position. And then when I walk off the ledge, see, here's the thing is that I think the shadow actually does need to be masked to the cap. It would overdraw, exactly. I think that what needs to happen is the shadow actually needs to be masked to the platform. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let me pull up MS Paint, the best program in the world. And here's what I'm thinking is, so if this was my player's shadow up here, I think I need a bigger screenshot. I need to show the actual bottom of the cliff. Using AI for art assets currently seems to be a death blow for games. If they make really bad ones, then yes, definitely. People don't want to play ugly games. And if a game has really ugly assets, then it's not going to be popular. And I think that when a game has AI assets, that tends to be synonymous with low quality. What I'm trying to convince you is that I think a lot more assets are AI generated than you might realize. Because it's kind of like CGI in movies. You know, when movies started using CGI, people used to say, oh, I hate CGI in movies. It's so ugly. CGI in movies look so bad. But then like the mid-2000s roll around and then CGI becomes really good. And you can't even notice it. CGI became so good that it blends into the movie where you can't even see it. And now nobody says, I hate CGI. What they mean is, I hate CGI that I can notice. And I think the exact same thing is with AI. If you can tell that something is made with AI, that's a sign that it's really low quality and crappy. That's a sign that it has some weird uncanny aspect to it that just looks bad. So that's what I think it comes down to. Look up Don't Starve a game. Oh, Don't Starve is a great example. Yeah, I actually do want to look up that. Because Don't Starve is like a 2.5D game. Don't Starve game. Short videos. Oh. I need to come up with a better way of like showing clips of this stuff because like Google Images just sucks. It's a 2.5D game where everything is flat, but it moves around in a 3D environment. I really like how that game looks. My art and assets aren't really great, but I'm always willing to learn. Good. I mean, that's how you do it. I am thankful though that like I grew up in an age where AI didn't exist because I didn't even have that temptation. I just had to learn how to make things that looked good by hand. Okay, anyway, I was going to show what my plan for this was. So someone suggested drawing the shadow in two places. So I could draw a shadow up here, like pretend the player mob is standing up here. I could draw a shadow up here and then draw a corresponding shadow underneath of the platform. And so this one below isn't going to be visible. It's going to be underneath of this platform. We would only be able to see this shadow. And so as I'm walking around, both of these shadows would be here. It's just that this one is underneath the platform. You can't see it. But what I'm concerned about is what happens when you walk up to the edge. When you walk up to the edge, and you do this, how is that going to work? Because these edges are not smooth. Like, there's a rough edge along this edge. What happens if the shadow is, like, in here? So, actually, the bottom one is not an issue. The bottom one is underneath. The bottom one is underneath of the platform, so it's going to be masked properly. What I need to do with this top one, the top one needs to be masked. Very high quality art isn't required to be successful. Look at Super Meat Boy, for example, has very basic art. Well, no, it's stylized though. Yeah, it's cohesive throughout. You don't need good art. The game, like, have you seen some of Undertale's art? A lot of the environments are very simplistic and they don't really look that good in Undertale. But the whole game it has a single vision. and it comes together very nicely. And even though some of the environments don't look that good, I still like how Undertale looks. It's all about the style being cohesive. So, probably like 5 or 10 years ago, you used to hear about this derogatory term, the asset flip. Whenever you hear about an asset flip game, that's a game where they just like went on the Unity asset store and they bought a bunch of 3D models and then they threw it into a game. And it looks really bad because you have a model from this artist, you have the 3D environments from over here, you have the UI from over here, and all of this stuff blends together in a really crappy way that just does not look good. And if they used a really crappy art style, but it was the same art style throughout, it would look way better than if you were combining different art styles. And it's the same with itch.io. I'll show this too. Itch.io, because I go on itch.io a lot, and for my game, I use a lot of paid assets. So this is my library, and I have like the font and like these pixel arts, and I have all of these different assets here, and I have hundreds. Like, I'm not even exaggerating when I say I have hundreds of assets. And the thing is, if I were to take some assets from like this, if I were to take this guy and put it right next to, well, actually some of these are made by the same artist. So let's find some by different artists. All of these are made by the same guy, actually. So if I took like these guys, and these guys, and these guys, and these guys. So you can just like go on itch.io and look at these asset packs. Look, this vine, this is in Moonshire. But these other ones are not, because I didn't feel like they matched the style well enough. Yeah, so I used this vine because I thought that it matched the style really nicely. Has cutesy pixel art as a style and looks cool. Yeah, it does. I like how my pixel art looks. Another thing is, if AI makes people more productive, even those not using AI will be expected to produce the same quantity as AI users. It devalues the work and effort of people. No thanks for me. I mean, we're already past the point, dude. I'm with you that is a problem. But I think you answered your own question, though. You are a company, and you have a team of 5 engineers. And your only goal is, I want to see results. We need to make money at this company, otherwise I have to lay people off. If we don't make money, I have to lay you guys off, okay? So I need you 5 developers to do as good as possible, be as efficient as you possibly can. If AI makes them more productive and makes things more efficient, where the ones using AI are more efficient than the ones not using AI, isn't that cause for concern for you? Like, you're managing a company, and if you don't make ends meet, you have to shut down the company and lay everyone off. You have to be cautious about how much you're spending. And if you notice that some of your engineers are being more productive than other engineers, it doesn't even matter if they're using AI or not. I just care about, are you doing good work in a timely amount of time? And if you're not, then we're not going to be able to keep you. They do match the style, you should really add them. I think that this guy kind of does. The AI discussion, I'm just trying, I know it's harsh, but I'm just trying to be realistic with it. I'm trying to be realistic in terms of what companies are thinking, because companies are just soulless entities. These aren't people. They are just big entities that are made to create money. And if they see that some people are yielding more money than other people, what do you think the company is going to do? What do you think they're going to do? So I don't know what to tell you. The flip side of the art is when AAA studios release bad-looking art in their $70 games, people say, why does it look so bad, even if it's technically high-quality art, but has no style put to it? Rendering sweat beads and pores, it turns out, isn't as important as style. Totally. I would much rather play a AAA game that has a style to it than something that's, like, hyper-realistic. I'm trying to think of a good example. Probably, like, Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey is an example of, like, a cartoony game. But I like how that game looks way more than something like GTA 5. Even though GTA 5 looks pretty good. I hate it when people use Gen AI and tries to pass it off as real art. Yeah, I agree with you. If someone posts a picture and they're like, I made this, but it turns out they just generated it, that is pretty cringy. That's really cringy. And what is scary, though, is how much AI involvement is too much. So, let me try to find an example. I want to try to find an example of like... Here, I'll just pull up an example of my art. I'll pull up an example of some of my art. And we're going to use it as an example. I don't use AI for any of my art, but I want to prove a point. Is... Okay, yeah. So this isn't my art. This is art made by V. He's an artist that I collab with, and he's awesome. This was made by a human. And I love how this artwork looks. I think it looks wonderful. And it was made by a human. And that makes me very happy that it was made by a human. Now, what happens if, say, I took this art and I put it into a filter that upscaled it? Because right now, this image is, let's see how big it is 1700 by 1000 pixels. But that's kind of, that is kind of small. What if I needed this to be a 4K image? And scaling it up to 4K it's an extremely time consuming task because you have to like basically redraw it with higher res if it's not SVG. What if you used AI to scale it up to 4K, and then after it was scaled up to 4K, you went in and you touched it up, you cleaned up any like weird artifacts, like maybe you cleared up this pixel, or you find any problems that it had with the upscale, and you like even here, there's some minor things I could probably clear up. Oh, how about that? What if I took this art, because this is the art that's used on the Steam page. What if I plugged this art into an AI that said, please clean up all of these weird pixel artifacts? Throughout this piece of art, there are small pixel artifacts just around the edges. It's very, very hard to see, very not noticeable. It's no big deal. A human could do that. A human could go through and manually delete and fix up and touch up all these pixels. But what if an AI did it? Would you still consider this human-made art, even though an AI touched it up? All that it did was it went through and found all these small artifacts, and it just removed those. It made the art really weird. Yeah, upscaling isn't perfect, by the way. That's why I said even after you upscale it, it would be good to go through and like touch it up manually. And personally, like that scenario I just described, where an AI touches it up and just like fixes these small artifacts, I think that is 100% fine, because it's not good creative work for me to spend my time going through and touching all this stuff up. I want to work on making new artwork, not like this mundane, annoying, just like touch up. AI creates noisy images. You're not using AI correctly. It doesn't create AI noise. It doesn't create noisy images if you use it correctly. That's the thing is, like I keep saying, if you can tell that something is made with AI, that's an example of bad AI. If it creates a noisy image, that's an example of bad AI. There are people out there who are really skilled with AI who know how to prompt it perfectly, and they use like Stable Diffusion, and they use these built-in AI prompt models that are so precise that they do not create noisy images. I understand if you go on to like Google and like have it generate some images for you, it might look blurry. Yeah, I agree with you. Just like bad CGI, exactly. I love that comparison. Yeah, that comparison is what I always fall back to, is that if you're watching a movie and you can tell that something is CGI, that's an example of really bad CGI because it should blend in perfectly where you can't even tell. I agree with you on this. Thank you. I know that's a touchy subject though. It's because I don't really like that human jobs are being replaced by AI. I think that's generally bad. I think it's bad because people need jobs to live, and robots are infringing on those jobs. That is objectively a bad thing. The question is, how do we solve it? Is the solution just to say, nope, no more AI, we can't have it, let's just get rid of it completely? I don't really think that's the right solution, because like imagine that with like spreadsheets. We have Microsoft Excel today, and we're able to do big, huge math spreadsheets in Microsoft Excel, and we don't have to hire pencil pushers for our companies anymore. It's really easy to do spreadsheets through Excel, and it's instant, It's perfect. You have no problems. It would be very silly if we insisted, no, companies cannot use Excel. We have to insist all companies must use, they must hire real human mathematicians. And it has to be human pencil and paper people that's doing all the math, and there's no Excel spreadsheets, because this is costing people's jobs. The existence of this program costs people jobs, and that's bad, but that's just the nature of technology. Calculators, yeah. It's sad that people lose their jobs, but is the solution to stifle technological advancement, or is it to find some way to live alongside it? If you compress your files, they should no longer be considered human-made. In a way, you're right. In a way, you're right. Also, that game never ends. Cars cost and stables their jobs. Time to get rid of cars. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah. You can go back at any point in human history, and technological advancement always leads to job loss, but it theoretically is supposed to lead to more jobs. Like the cars and stables argument is that when people stopped using horses and they started using cars, it created a lot more jobs in the car market, and then theoretically all the people in the horse market would just move over to the car market, and then there's no job loss. But the problem is, I don't know if that holds true anymore. There has to be a breaking point where so many jobs are replaced that there's just not a one-to-one thing anymore. I don't think anyone can avoid AI at this point. If you use a dependency, then good chance it's coded with AI. If you use Linux, AI is used to fix bugs in it. I think that if you are on a website, AI is involved with it. Can we just end AI and live? I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not. But I know what you mean. It would be nice if like things could go back to before Pandora's box was opened. Yeah, it is awkward. If you asked Carl Benz what the people wanted, they would have said faster horses. Whoa, that's a really good quote. That's a really good quote. Folks pretending they aren't using AI or just coping. Maybe. I think, but to be fair, there is a lot of like public sentiment against AI, and rightfully so. I understand why. It feels weird to see AI art, and things created by AI is awkward. Please continue developing Moonshire. I'm never gonna stop. I only stop to chat, that's all. One thing we don't seem to want to talk about is there's 8 billion people on the planet, 360 million of them in this country. At one point, are there more people than jobs, and how do we handle that reasonably? That is the big question, and I have no idea. And that's what I'm getting at, is there has to be a breaking point. All the horse people moved over into the car industry, but at some point, there's going to be not enough industries. There's going to be too many people and not enough jobs. And like speaking personally, it feels like we've already reached that point. I don't know that for sure. It's just anecdotally, it feels that way. I limit how I use it, like I limit my intake of junk food. Totally, that's such a good way of phrasing it. And the other thing is the cost aspect. A lot of people are winding down their usage of it because it's so expensive. Like this one where I said, if we went with solution A, would there be any performance concerns? And all that it did was it gave me an answer. It didn't actually change any code. It still cost me 22 cents. And by the way, I'm going to say, go ahead and implement the change. By the way, I'm using GPT 5.6 Terra. This is the medium cost model. It costs half the cost of Opus. It runs like 5 times as fast, and the code quality is basically just as good. I can't really tell much of a difference. I don't like AI touching my code. I understand that, but I think that there are some times where it is objectively really good. Have you ever like control F'd, like searched your code, like searched for trigger? So I searched my code for trigger, and it comes up with all of this stuff relating to trigger. And like, let's say that I was investigating a bug related to the trigger buttons not working. I would have to go through all of these words to try and find the word trigger and try to find the specific line of code where trigger is relevant. Or the whole point of AI is that it has the intuition. It does this for you. It does a literal search for trigger, and it reads through all of these, and it tells you which one is the one that's relevant, and then it just like extrapolates more. It uses its intuition. It's very strange. we'll find ways to make poor people work for the richer ones. Sometimes it does feel that way. The AI developers are promising a world in which everyone is wealthy and freed from work. Surely the reality is right around the corner. I don't believe that at all. That doesn't make sense at all. Your code ain't that special as an individual. Not pointed at you. I know. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is I feel like I actually just watched a video by Theo where he was talking about that exact same thing. Is if you were working on something that was mission critical, like a life or death scenario. His example was firmware for a pacemaker. You would want to make sure that every line of code was looked at and made certain, because if there was a bug with a pacemaker, someone will die. You cannot afford to have any bugs whatsoever in like medical equipment. And so you could argue that you should be very mindful of every single line of code that goes into something like that. And then on the flip side, what's something that really there's not much of a consequence if the code has a bug? Something like a game. A game is pretty low stakes. If my game had a bug and the game crashed, that's bad, but no one's gonna die. And so we can agree that the stakes of these different scenarios is very different. We have a video game and we have a life or death medical device. And imagine a world where the medical device is entirely written by AI with no human involvement. That scares me. I want humans to monitor every line of code that goes into that pacemaker. But also, AIs are really smart. They can analyze every line of code on that pacemaker as well. And the combination probably is pretty foolproof. Now, the flip side where I was saying the game, should a game developer need to read through and understand and write every single line of code with the same level of intensity that the medical device developer uses? Some would argue, no, it's okay to be a little bit more fast-paced, to move quickly, to put some trust in the agent to make the right choices. Someone asked if my game is vibe coded. In some ways it is, in some ways it's not. Most of the code is written by me, but I have used the AI to fix a lot of issues, to debug things, and I use it to write a lot of the comments. A lot of the comments are made by the AI, and I do use it for many aspects of the game. What the comments look like in a pacemaker's firmware code, I don't know what this line does, but it keeps the heart beating, don't remove it. Can you imagine? Because like stuff like that, like this, to do is this. Imagine seeing to do in the firmware for a pacemaker. That's a little bit concerning. What is it not? What's it not doing? Yeah, that's pretty funny. Aren't you assuming the human reviewer is infallible? That's the big thing. Is humans are not infallible. Humans make mistakes. So all of this discussion about AIs, about trusting AIs with your code, you have to compare that to the alternative, trusting a human with your code. Which of those is more risky? Because even if you have a really trustworthy, good, solid developer, do you trust them with your life? Like a life or death choice for like this code? Because if there's a mistake with the firmware, someone's gonna die. And humans do make mistakes. Even really skilled programmers miss some details. Something can happen. And the criticism of AI is that it makes mistakes too. The question is, who makes more mistakes? Do humans make more mistakes than AI, or do AIs make more mistakes than humans? If you asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have said AIs make way more mistakes than humans. Because I used to prompt AIs and it would just screw up all the time. I wouldn't be able to do it. And these days, like when we did that prompt where it figured out the shadow Y-sort issue, that's a level of intuition I can't even comprehend. If Troy is reviewing the code, I trust him, but if it's Jerry, whew, that's a lot. Yeah, I know what you mean. What the code does, all green text are notes. Yeah, exactly. All of these things are just notes. But the thing is, these notes are really valuable because context is key. The way that the prompts worked is the AIs are actually reading these comments, and that gives them context on what the functions do. Most pacemakers have paid DLC. Junior dev, Google's how to center a div. Senior dev, also Google's how to center a div. Literally so true. You were bringing me right back. When I was at Microsoft, we didn't have AI, but we had this website called Stack Overflow, which I think Stack Overflow still exists. But back in the day, when there wasn't AI, people would run into really simple problems all the time. And so you would just Google, what's wrong? Why is my diff left aligned when I want it to be center aligned? So you just Google that, and then a Stack Overflow page would pop up where someone else had the exact same problem, and then some human wrote a response that says, this is how you fix it. And so every developer in the world kind of just like used Stack Overflow as documentation, because all the little problems, all the little details were documented there. But now there's no reason to do that. Like that's a very archaic way of figuring out problems. Now you just like, you don't even have to you don't even have to tell the prompt what the problem is. You just need to copy and paste the code and it'll fix it. It's so intuitive. I studied JavaScript and Python. I mean, yeah, those are, they're still used. I still use JavaScript for some of my stuff. We had this site called Stack Overflow. Broke me feel like I'm 50 years old. I know. The funny thing though, isn't it though? Like, do you remember using Stack Overflow all the time? I would use it. I'm not even joking. I probably visited Stack Overflow every single day when I was working at Microsoft, because there would be some edge case weird problem, some error message that I didn't quite understand. And if you Google an error message, someone on Stack Overflow would talk about it. This problem with Stack Overflow was the amount of spite and vitriol on some of the stupid people that took karma too seriously. Yeah, I remember that too. Is that if you posted a question that technically was already answered in the past, even if it was years ago, you would get berated. It was very elitist. I didn't really like that. Fun fact, there was an internal MS Stack Overflow, dead as fuck. Yeah, I remember that too. I remember using that a little bit, but I didn't really use it that much, because one nice thing about Microsoft is that you could message anyone. So if I found something that someone worked on, I was able to just message them and ask them a question about it. But I did use the Microsoft internal Stack Overflow for front-end work. I was a front-end web dev around 2010, and even just that, I was on Stack Overflow a lot. Yep, that tracks. I'm trying to remember if I used it in college that much, or if it was mainly just like on the job that I used Stack Overflow. A bit before my time, but I definitely used Stack Overflow a couple of times when I was making Doom mods. Wow, cool. That's awesome. Imagine having a problem, you search the whole internet and find a 10-year-old forum post with the same problem, and the OP says, never mind, fixed it. Ah, you're bringing me right back. It's like, why didn't you tell me what the fix was? That's a funny thing. On Stack Overflow, you can, if no one responds to your question, but you figure it out, you can respond to your own question with the answer so that future people who find your post will be able to figure it out. Oh, Stack Overflow. I don't miss that. Are you by chance still in contact with the hiring department at Microsoft? Nope. Unfortunately not. I don't know anything about that. The way I got my job at Microsoft is I just applied through the website. I think most people do get their jobs through all these big tech companies through referrals, like you're saying, is that if you know someone who's there, even if it's just an employee, it doesn't have to be a hiring person, they can normally put your name in for a specific position, and that helps out a lot with streamlining things. I didn't do that. I just applied on the website, and I got a little bit lucky, because, you know, when you're applying for jobs, there's this approach. You can do the focused approach where you like really make your resume perfect for every job that you apply for, or you do the shotgun approach, which is where you throw your resume at every single job possible and hope that one of them gets back with you. And I definitely did the shotgun approach with Microsoft. I think I sent my resume to like 10 different opening positions at Microsoft, and then one of them happened to be hiring. Because that's the thing, you can't spend too much time going for one specific job, because even if they say that they're hiring, they might not actually be. Like a lot of it is just optics. Sometimes these companies post job openings with no intention of filling them because they already have someone internal that they have in mind to fill it. They just needed to put the position out there for some kind of compliance thing. Dude, corporate world is so goofy. I have to admit that Free Gemini and ChatGPT have helped me get more familiar with using Linux. Cool. So that's the thing, is like I ask those AIs specific questions all the time. If there's like a Windows hotkey I don't know, or if there's some bug, I ask it to give me advice or like suggestions for libraries to look at. Yeah, it's good for searching in general, because before you would Google search things And now, like, when you Google search thing, it just does a Gemini search, which is essentially the same thing. All this stuff is very strange. The way it's moving so quickly, too, is we're in the age of AI, but the age of AI just started, like, last year. Sometimes they hire just because they have a head count. Sometimes that's true. There's just, like, a minimum number of people you need. Sometimes it's a budgeting thing. You have a certain number of people. Chalky must be the GOAT of LeetCode. I was. Back in 2017, I was the GOAT of LeetCode. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'll go ahead and pull that up to LeetCode. LeetCode is this website where it like has a built-in, it has like a built-in web code editor, and then it gives you practice coding problems. And the goal is you start with just like a big empty field like this, and it's practice. It gives you a coding challenge, and you have to code it from scratch. Because when you interview for a company like Google or Microsoft, this is what they do. You get into a room, and they give you a whiteboard, a physical one. You have a marker, and they're like, code me a binary tree that accepts this, and this parameter, and it spits out this result. And you would have to write all of this stuff on a whiteboard. Maybe not quite this many lines of code, but some of them would get kind of long. And this process of like writing code from scratch is unusual. When you are in the real world, you often don't write things purely from scratch. Normally you're going off of something else that already exists. Some sort of placeholder or boilerplate code, or you already had a different class, so you copy and paste the structure into a different file. And then also you have documentation. You can go on Google and like look up what's the class used for tree nodes, or actually tree node I think is this is a custom definition, or like maybe you didn't realize what the specific keyword was for while loops or something. I don't know. Obviously you would know that, but I'm trying to think of an example. It's some syntax thing. You couldn't quite remember what the bitwise shift was, and so you had to look it up. But in an interview situation, you're not allowed to look it up. Paper coding on tests in school was a pain. Yes, that's what the interviews are like, and it's really stressful, really high pressure, and darling C#. When I interviewed, I used Java actually. C++ is really tough. C++ is a hard one because C++ relies on you understanding memory and the references stuff and data collection or garbage collection, compared to something like Java. It's more straightforward. Although this is still a lot of code. Java is more straightforward, but it's also still pretty verbose. Cool that there's a tool for practice, but seems really rough for a job interview. I'm not exaggerating. It's as rough as it gets. Here, I'm gonna go grab my book because I like talking about it. So LeetCode, the website, is really useful for practicing the problems. But when I was interviewing, this was my life. Cracking the coding interview. So this book it starts with like a bunch of explanations on what the interview process is like. And it talks specifically about like Microsoft and Facebook and Google. Then there's a chapter on like big O notation. You have to know about the performance and complexity of your code. It has a section on the behavioral questions, but most of it is on technical questions. And more than half the book is just on like logic puzzles and all the coding problems. And so this is kind of like the book version of LeetCode, where LeetCode has all of this like built-in coding editor stuff where you can practice the job or practice the problem. But this is like the deep dive. And also, I don't know if this is still the best resource for it. This is just what it was at the time. This is the 6th edition. I bet there's more recent versions. And it's hard. It is hard. I probably read this book a dozen times, and I did every single programming problem in the book. Logical algorithms are never outdated. They aren't. You are so right. And in fact, in a way, I'm sad that I'm a little bit out of practice with the LeetCode stuff, Because I used to be able to go on LeetCode, and I was able to do all of the easies and mediums for sure, and then some of the hards. But it's such a good website because a lot of the questions are specifically from, like, the big companies. That book sure can kill any size of bug. Oh, it absolutely can. It could kill my cat. I wouldn't do that. Misty would not like it if I slammed her with a book. To make my game framework, I needed to learn C++ since Luau has most of it implemented in C++. Cool. Nice, that's neat. Dart is worth picking up for simple language on mobile. I'm getting a lot of people talking about wanting to make games, not make mobile games, wanting to make games on their phone. Like, I think a lot of people only have a phone, or they don't have access to a computer regularly, so it'd be nice if they're able to code or get practice on their computer. I imagine you could run LeetCode in your browser. I'm pretty confident that you can. You can also do Lua.org's thing. The Lua.org has the download under live demo, and in my Lua tutorial on my channel, I love that video, by the way. I use a site like this where you can just type Lua code into this compiler. So we'll say like Kyle equals awesome, and then we're gonna print Kyle. Awesome. Yeah, so it's really easy. I think the barrier to entry to getting started with all this stuff is as low as it's always ever been. Reminds me of W3 Schools. I used to use W3 Schools all the time. Yeah, because W3 Schools, I use that a lot for when I was learning web development. Because they have like the built-in web editor tools. Oh man, this brings me back. This is another one, but you know, ever since AI, I really don't think I went to W3 ever since then. Because yeah, this is a really amazing site because it always has this try it yourself button, and it opens up, and you can like change things around. It says page title. This is a paragraph, and you can like add more stuff to it, and you can like see what an H2 tag looks like. Yo, like that, and you run it again. You see that it changes. So like I remember I played around with W3 Schools interface so many times. Always messing around with the demos for quick tests, yes. And like the site, I would just like use all the different examples. And I swear that they had some of the CSS libraries too. Because some of these are complicated, like buttons. Cool. Nice. Yeah, I love this site. I used to use this site all the time. This site in Mozilla's web wiki. Oh, nice. I actually haven't used the web wiki very much. Do you guys think in the chat think I'll have to ask Toby Fox for permission when creating a fan game? I don't really know what the rules are for fan games. What you should do, if that's something you're interested in, take a look at like Undertale Yellow, which is a fan game, and they actually had some... I think they actually had some problems with their launch. But in general, like, the legal answer is you do not have permission to use any of his characters or stuff for your own projects. If you make a fan game, you are doing it with the expectation that he just will choose. Like, how do I phrase this? There's a lot of Sonic fan games out there because Sega doesn't really go after them. They don't really take them down. Sega has every legal right to take down those fan games, but they just choose not to. Nintendo really doesn't like fan games, and they have a tendency to take them down as soon as they release. So it just depends on your company. Also, it's the same with music. So right now we're listening to Nintendo music. Nintendo has a tendency not to copyright claim anyone that uses their Nintendo music in YouTube videos, but companies like Square Enix, they do have a tendency of doing that. It's just based on whatever they feel like, because it's their property, it's their copyright, and you just have to follow whatever their rules are. I imagine Toby Fox does not really want people making fan games because it just muddies the water of like all that stuff. But at the same time, if it's just a small personal project, I don't think he would mind. I think something like that would be fine. He made fan games. He made fan games of of Earthbound. So it'd be kind of ironic if he said, "Well, you can't make fan games of my game," even though he made fan games of his favorite games. Here in the HTML section, I know. Oh, right, because of the CSS. I was talking about that. Right, because they had the there was what's that library, that CSS library that's really Bootstrap. I used to use Bootstrap all the time. Bootstrap 5? Oh. Yeah, I loved Bootstrap so much. All that Bootstrap is, it's just like a really easy way to add these like columns and these, because it adjusts. If I make this page skinny, whoops. Then the column should collapse. Oh, he didn't. What the heck? I guess the page didn't get small enough. All this stuff though is so like old. I wouldn't ever use Bootstrap specifically. I mean, I guess I could. Responsiveness, yeah, is that the big thing with web is that you need to make sure that the web page will look good in a narrow view and a full view. And like I spent time with that on Chalacade.com, I'm pretty sure. It's like I have the games, I have all these games on a big grid, but if I take this side and squish it down, yeah, then it collapses like this into a single column. That's something about web development, and honestly, and about game development that a lot of people don't really factor in, is that the size of the screen and the window can vary a lot. Nintendo doesn't like any source of fun. They just want to empty your pocket. I like Zelda Mario, though. I like Nintendo. I understand that they have a bit of a reputation at the moment, but I still love their games. I'm still very nostalgic for their games, and they have really good music. I love their music. I've never seen anyone make a fan game of a premium game. I can see how that would be a weird problem. I think that you are bound to run into problems. However, there are fan games of Undertale. Check out Undertale Yellow. That exists, and it did come out. But I do know for a fact, what are you playing these days? So over the weekend, I played Dewdrop Dynasty. That just came out. I'm going to show that. For anyone who doesn't know, Dewdrop Dynasty is a game by Goodgis, who's another YouTuber. And I'm at the very, very end of the game. I streamed this on Twitch, by the way. I streamed this last week. And I made it to the very final boss. And on stream, I got frustrated because the final boss had an intro cutscene. And it was like over a minute long. So when I was doing the fight, it's a hard fight. I kept dying. I kept having to rewatch that same intro cutscene. So I ended up stopping. But over the weekend, he patched it. He made it so that you can skip the cutscene. So really, I think all of the negative things that I had to say about Dewdrop are resolved. And in fact, I think I have. Yeah, I took notes. So there's a few things I didn't like. Yeah, there's some enemies that hide inside walls. I didn't like that. You can't look down. A lot of people were complaining about how you can't look down. And it's frustrating because there's some hazards below you. The gun kickback horizontally is annoying. I'm going to get rid of that. That's just me. I need to get good. Touching a spike respawns a character. That's just like a problem with Hollow Knight and Silksong. I never liked that. How when you touch a saw blade in Silksong, you just like respawn at the start of the room. You end up having to redo the same rooms all the time. So I don't like that. Can't skip cutscenes. That's taken care of, so I'll get rid of that. Soft lock. There were soft locks in the game. When I was playing through the first time on stream, the first stream, I ended up getting to this room where I got stuck. I got stuck in a big area for like over an hour, and it turned out I just couldn't do anything. It was really frustrating. If dev is not allowing you to be very determined, you do like what Minecraft stories devs do. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I think that it's just, yeah, if you get their permission, it's okay. What I was going to mention with Undertale Yellow is that when the game came out, there were problems with the music, because the game used some Undertale music, and there was a big problem with Undertale Yellow getting struck on YouTube, because a lot of people were playing it. It was kind of a hype release, but there was a lot of problems with the copyright in relation to that. Let's see. There's some bugs. When did full screen? That's not that big of a deal. crawling, not the big of a deal. That he fixed that one too. Oh, this was an annoying one. Is that you can upgrade your health by buying items or by finding the items. If you find the items to upgrade your health, then your health does actually increase. But if you buy the health increase item, then it didn't work. It just like broke. It was so weird. Had to SD, you know what you are. You know what I am. I think $20 is too much for Dewdrop Hollow Knight is way far better, even cheaper. I know what you mean. I read through the reviews for the game, and I think a lot of people were saying the same thing, is that the price is kind of high. Actually, I think that he's talking about reducing the price too, so I know what you mean. Much prefer the Sonic style, touching the hazards, bounce back in rings. Yeah, exactly. Is that if you just get knocked back, it's one thing, but when you get knocked back and then you get knocked back into a pit and have to restart the whole room, I don't like that. That was my problem with Mina the Hollower. If I go over to Mina the Hollower, I know for a fact that... Where did I talk about this? Where did I talk about that? Respawning during the Mario 3 scrolling rooms is actually broken. I know I wrote it down because I remember getting... Oh yeah, hit by enemies, knocked into pits. This is what happened constantly during the game, is that you just like get hit by enemies and you fall into a pit, and it was annoying. I played Saros. Nice. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I loved Saros. It was awesome. Spiders scurry on the ground and scatter. I don't even know what I meant by that. Spiders scurry on the ground and scatter? I don't even know what that means. Jump boost pad. Oh, this is like Elden Ring, how they have those whirlwind things that you walk inside and then you jump really high. I like that. The God of War lock hunt. I'm gonna cross that out because I hate the lock hunt. Launch an arrow and shoot at something while airborne. Yeah, I could do that. Grappling hook, laser jumped. How do I spell laser? That's weird. Legion boss. Okay. I think that's your dream journal. Oh yeah. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I was dreaming about spiders and they scurried around. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, we're at the end of stream. It was a really good stream. I had a lot of fun chatting today. I think that we did some cool things. Talked a lot about AI, and sorry, I know we talked about AI a lot. We'll talk less about AI next time, but somehow that always comes up in conversation. Thank you everyone for being here. I really do appreciate the support from everyone, like Adele and Bayron, and tech support, and Hiru, Rethanon, Adele, Mingrim, Penguin, Crappy, and Rakheb, Helpmea, and Korix, Defy. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate all the support. All the people being here every week, all the people I recognize. So many familiar faces, so many familiar names. I'll be back next week for yet another Moonshire Monday, and I'll see you all then. Bye, everyone.